Hey guys, welcome to Dungeon Discourse, I guess. Hello?
Hey guys, welcome to Dungeon Discourse.
I guess, yeah, hey, we're here. We are here, Pog. The show about the show, I guess. Is that weird?
The show about the show.
I mean, it's kind of what it is, though. It really is, though. It's just a show about the show, Smile. Where we go in depth on the last episode of Dungeon Select, talk about just the behind the scenes of it all, talk about my guests and their characters, their D&D experience, all that good shit. Bell coming in hot with the host right at the beginning of Dungeon Discourse. How you doing? Welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for the host, Bell. Anyone wants to Bell stream? My name's That Dutch Geek, Fridaycaster here on Twitch. Currently, every Tuesday we do Dungeon Discourse where we talk about Dungeons and Dragons and our show Dungeon Select. We're just getting started, so welcome on in. Golden Ninja, what's up, man? Hellscorned, welcome. Yeah, guys, excited. Episode 2. We made the first episode. It's on YouTube as well, by the way, on the Dungeon Select YouTube. !DS if anyone's interested. I think we're like 1 sub away from 50 subs on YouTube as well. So like, hey, if anyone wants to like just boop that sub button and do that, you know.
I will say currently looking at it because I just I was looking to make sure that on something, and you're at 51 actually.
Oh, there we go. Look at that. We're at 49 like 2 days ago. So for those that click that sub button, thank you. Appreciate you.
Next goal's 100, and then we get like custom URL.
Exactly, dude. Lit.
Also, my video for Discord just went into the red, so.
Pog! Can't wait for Gypsy Infinite to drop out again. So yeah, guys, we're going to talk tonight about episode 15 that is going to be up on YouTube tomorrow, by the way, which I called Iandek's Estate, because you know that's pretty much the entire focus on the episode was you guys pondering around that man's estate. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what happened, what could have happened, what there's a lot of ifs. We're going to talk a little bit about Ecto and Gypsy and their D&D experience and their opinions on the show so far, and about their characters, you know, what went into the process of creating those characters. If anyone has some questions or wants to know things in chat, feel free to ask. Ingor, for the millionth time, I don't do lurk for lurk. Smile. Lurk for lurk doesn't work. Why would you want people
good today, boy?
Holy shit, dude!
A little bit.
We haven't even started yet, and Dutch is fucking done.
Yep.
What? Sorry, I lost my cool there for a second.
I tell you what, Dutch, I'll give you 5 gold pieces if you also give me 5 gold pieces.
Lit.
That's how it works, right?
Yeah. OSG. You're nuts, bro. This will help, because, yeah, that hospital bill is due in 4 days, so that definitely will help. Thank you so much, man. That's insane. That's an insane, like, donation, and I fucking appreciate the ever-living shit out of you. Thank you so much, man. Thank you. That's insane. Yeah, Hellscorn. I might as well let him fuck me in the ass, right? Because he owns me now, so there you go. Might as well present myself on my bed.
I mean, I just assumed that it was a combination of nice gesture coupled with frustration due to lurk for lurk drama, but
oh no, that's fucking lurk for lurk. I couldn't give a fuck about.
All right, that's it. That's the new campaign title.
Thank you so much, Shatter. You're insane. Anyway, Dungeon Select. First of all, the episode. Just initial opinions on that. What did you guys think of the episode for the time that you could be there, Gypsy?
For the sum of it that I was there, yeah. This is a really crucial and integral part to Actanis' story arc, which means not just Belle is like deeply involved and invested into that, but we all are as a group. You know, Iandek is a bit of a recurring theme that has interacted with the whole party now. So it's sort of interesting to see what direction that's going to go, not just for Actanis, but for the party as a whole.
Yeah, and I did some thinking, and I was like, because I think Laura was the one that I had a little bit of a conversation with last night about just Dungeon Select as a whole so far, and how, and James brought up a pretty interesting point that a lot of D&D gets filtered down to, oh, I'm not useful in combat, that means I'm not useful at all. People tend to feel that way. Oh, my character isn't good in combat, well, guess I suck. But me and James and Laura started talking, and we're like, you know, there's a lot more than that. Like, okay, we have, I'd say, combat-wise, Actanis and Narang are the heaviest hitters of the group. They hit a lot and they do a fuckload of damage. That's just the way it is. But then we have Kissaran, who is literally, like, in a lot of ways, together with Abberan, like the mom and dad of the group. Like, make sure that everyone fucking behaves. We have Tremaris, who is a little bit, and Nicole, who are like the comedic relief, but also pretty serious when it comes to when they really have to be. I feel like group-wise, party-wise, it's a good combination of, okay, we can do damage in combat, but the stuff around combat, and oh, if we need someone to disarm traps, oh, if we need someone that's good at this, there's a pretty good variation of talents and skills in the group. I mean, yeah, Koiba, but it requires you to be able to hit. If you hit, you do a lot of damage.
You hit the ground really hard.
Yeah. No, but I think that's what makes a D&D group work. It's not just the combat, and I think when it comes to our group, we have a pretty good mix of things, which we saw in the estate as well. There were a lot of traps, and the second you guys realized, oh, this place is booby trapped to hell, you let the people, in this case Narang, take the lead and be like, okay, well, and then you, was it Tremaris who was like, we're probably not gonna be able to disarm this, I'm gonna just cast my mage hand and disarm it that way, like trigger it from a distance. That's using your brains, and that's smarts, and that's using skills in a fun and creative way, which I as a DM really enjoy to just see you guys do. Like, okay, I present you with a problem, how are they going to fix it? You know, I enjoy that. Like, that's stuff I enjoy.
You mean like axing down a door instead of going through it when it was unlocked?
For instance.
Forgetting that there is another sorcerer in the group that could, I don't know, dispel the door.
That was so funny, because I knew you had dispel magic. And everyone was like, oh, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to throw an axe in it. And I was just like, I'm just going to wait till Gwen opens her mouth.
I kind of see this, and this is part of her character, where she was trying to say something, but everybody was just like talking over her, and then she just finally goes,
you're the outsider.
Excuse me.
You're the outsider as well, so like I get that. You're like, oh, this is how they function, whatever, dude. Yeah.
I'm gonna go touch the door. Hold on.
Yeah.
Well,
Exactly.
let's just wait.
Chaos.
Can we?
Yeah. I think
Is it important that we get through? Because I can just dispel it.
Yeah. No. What I wanted to, I in an ideal world, you would have had the Iandek boss fight already, and you would have realized that he has something to help you guys through that door.
Like a key.
You know, but so yeah, but due to some derailing, a little bit of a Tremaris side plot point that happened to happen because you guys went to the temple district, we spent a little more time outside of the mansion than I thought we would, because that Tremaris thing that happened, I had written in for like, oh, maybe they'll visit the temple afterwards or something. I don't know, but and the whole, like, you know, completing that warlock transition, I guess, because that's now the cat's out of the bag. he multi-classed into warlock.
You didn't know, by the way, guys. Tremaris has taken a level in warlock.
Yeah.
In case you didn't catch any of the last 23 hint.
Yeah. So where I permanently made
Wait,
his
you
alignment.
took a level on warlock? What?
No, really? So where I permanently made his lawful good alignment shift to chaotic good, because he made a deal with an otherworldly patron, and that, like, putting his, like, finding that place and putting his staff and accepting, like, the new staff kind of marked that, okay, you've now fully accepted my gift, you are now, you know, one of mine. That was something that I wrote in. That could have happened last session, could have happened the next session after the Iandek fight, could have happened 20 sessions from now, when you eventually happen to be back in the same city, you know? I'm kind of happy that it happened now. If it wouldn't have happened for a few more sessions, I would have probably just, you know, put some more like visions in there and stuff. But this pretty much lore-wise, story-wise, completes Tremaris' transition into Warlock. And it's going to make for some really interesting plot points for him later on down the line. Because you know, he's now has 2 patrons, one god and one patron that he worships, and those 2 don't really see eye to eye, so that's going to be very interesting. I'm very excited to play around with that a lot.
Conflict like that in a character can always be entertaining.
Very, very, and it's also fun for me as a DM to like just explore and see what I can throw at you guys in that way.
Character conflict is one of my favorite parts of building a character. I like to create those inherently flawed and divisive characters.
Yeah. So yeah, what my goal was with this episode, like I wrote it with the intent of you guys fighting Iandek already, but okay, that didn't happen because time. But my goal of this ending this arc was my goal of the whole Actanis arc as a whole was you just lost some. Abberan didn't and Gwen didn't, but the party just lost someone that was a member of their party. Someone died. They are in a state of okay, we don't want this to happen again. And as a little bit of it made sense to me as a writer to put in Actanis' backstory, because Actanis is part of the group, and her backstory involves her being threatened by someone who wants to like take her away, kill her, whatever. So I figured if I add that in, having just lost a party member already, the party will be happy to make sure that it doesn't happen again. So adding in the Actanis like arc made sense to me, because it's a good motivator to make you guys more a tight-knit group, and you know the fact that you just lost someone makes it so you really don't want to experience that again. So having that threat of losing another someone so soon after made sense to me, writing-wise, story-wise, I guess, because fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice. That meme. So yeah, so that's
only 20 times.
Actanis' story was the first one up. I'm really excited to dive into all the other like backgrounds as well, though. It's gonna be sick. Chat, if you guys have any questions about Dungeon Select, by the way, or the last episode, feel free to ask. I'm just going off my head, and if there's chat questions, we'll just squeeze them in. A little thing, I guess, that I want to know from you guys, you two, is
am I available? Yes.
Are you gonna be there Sunday?
We will find. I should be.
Yeah, that's dope. That's really cool. On a scale of 1 to 10, how dead is Nicole gonna be in his next fight? That depends on how you behave in combat. Smile. Okay. No, what I want to think is just overall. Let's start with you, Ecto. What's your D&D experience been so far? Just like, whether have you played before? How much? How long has it been?
Resume is rather short. I started up well, I didn't start, but I joined a D&D, online D&D group a little over 13 years ago.
Okay.
Moved to Florida. Couldn't continue, so the group fell apart.
Ah, it sucks, man.
About 2-3 years ago, I think about 3 years ago now, I did a one-shot, actually utilizing Gwen.
Okay.
And that was it. And then 2 episodes of Dungeon Select.
Hey, man.
That is my experience.
I really respect it, though, the fact that you're like willing to like relearn/learn D&D on stream in front of an audience. That's pretty ballsy, man. It's a ballsy move.
Best way to learn is to jump in.
Facts. For those that don't know, when we were setting up Dungeon Select, Ecto was actually supposed to be one of the main party members, weekly party members, but due to his work scheduling, sadly, we couldn't make that happen. So I was really excited to finally be able to add him in there. And when it comes to guest characters, I always try to make it so that guest characters can be called back on because they're allies to the party, right? So now that Gwen knows the party and they're fighting this big bad together, if down the line or Gwen or the party needs help, they can call back on their allies and be like, hey, listen, we need you, which is just beneficial to be able to set up a little bigger boss fights, because you know you'll have more than just your party fighting the boss, which makes it so that I can do a lot of large scale fights later on down the line, which is lit. But also just, you know, to make the world a little more immersive, knowing that there's people out there, you know, that live in the world that you've seen. It's not just a bunch of NPCs that live in my head, you know. I feel like that adds to the immersion. Is that weird? That kind of...
No, it definitely makes sense that as much as you're a great DM and you write these NPCs and they exist as separate people in the world, sometimes through saturation an NPC is just another iteration of Dutch. And that's just the way that it will be, and it becomes the more NPCs that you have to create, it can become very difficult to differentiate them from each other.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Whereas when you start including other players as other characters that then become NPCs within the world, you add a level of interaction. It definitely makes you feel more in touch with the world, because you're like, okay, so we know these people now, and you know.
Yeah.
I mean, and it comes down to, I mean, I'm not, you know, lauding onto myself here, but they could even be traveling out and about and stop in, and they could hear, you know, a conversation about some sorcerer that took down X, Y, and Z, and they go, oh, well, Gwen's staying busy.
Yeah, exactly. Like, just little, like, the world around the places of the world that they live in that they aren't at the moment also keep living on, and shit happens there. It just adds to the whole, like, liveliness of the world, I suppose.
Thanks for the sub, you fucking legend.
Yo, Chris.
Surprise, mother.
20 months in a row, dude. Holy fuck. That's a long time. That's a long time sub, my guy. Holy shit. Thanks so much for the continued support. You were here day one. You were like day one sub. Chris Akira. Check him out, guys. Streamer as well, by the way. Check him out. Good friend of mine. Dope, dude. That's lit. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much for the support. Appreciate you. That's like 4 months away from 2 years. Holy fuck. That's crazy. That means that in 4 months I'm affiliated for 2 years. Whenever Chris resubs, I'm like, oh hey, I've been an affiliate for 20 months, guys. Yeah, but it's my goal is I want the world to be alive, and one thing that I do to help that really benefits that is, I play and DM a second campaign off stream that also takes place in the same world, just a different province. And I have some like references back and forth between the two campaigns to kind of, you know, add that really makes it easy for me to be like, oh yeah, up north this and this is happening right now, and that could be a reference to that other campaign that is currently taking place at one province to the north of the desert where you guys are in right now. And because also some of the players are in both groups, Laura, Soko. I think just Laura and Soko, right? Yeah. We had Duke, but Duke dropped out. So yeah, play in both campaigns. They will also recognize that. It makes it fun little like hints and little memes. It's fun. But yeah, now that we have technically Gypsy was our first guest, but because Duke was like, I'm gonna drop out, and Gypsy was like, I'm out of a D&D group, I was like, you know what, we can have you replace Duke in that sense. Because scheduling wise it works out. And Tamar, a character that the party met early on, a half-orc that helped them do some stuff and is currently working with Rokul and Lausanne to translate those books that they found. Was supposed to be a player character as well. Was a character that I made with Daft Brit, but unfortunately due to a work slash other, like just a lot of personal like emergencies, he had to drop out of that, so that's a shame. So technically, you are the first like guest, Ecto. So there you go.
Yeah.
Unless Ecto stays as well.
That's physically impossible because Disney.
Unless Disney decides to let me have Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday off, yeah, sure, no problem.
Exactly. Gypsy's the guy who invites himself to the party and now he's living with us and won't leave. Yeah, pretty much.
You see, you say that, but then when everyone's injured and I want to go home, they lock the door and ply me with food until I cast healing spells.
Listen, you're the one that just wants that. Just go find ham and cheese sandwiches to feed to your group, right, dude? So we talked about Ecto's experience within D&D. Gypsy, you are a pretty seasoned D&D veteran, if I may, you know, like you've been around, you know, you've played a lot of D&D. Just walk us through your D&D resume.
I've been watching D&D in spits and spats for a long time, and I've played the occasional one-shots and on and off campaigns for probably about 4 years now. But it was always that sort of thing of you'd play a couple of sessions and then everyone falls apart and you can never hold it together. And then I did my first ever on-stream sort of setup campaign. I think it was about last year, and this was my first time playing online, first time using Roll20, and that lasted one session.
Oof.
And then our DM had some issues with work. None of the other players can make it. Some of the players were people like my mod, Brad, and Copa from Level Select. So, you know, multiple different time zones. It makes it horrible.
Yeah.
So then I sort of took up to, you know, doing some one-shots here and there with players and friends that could DM them. And then last year, I joined a campaign with some friends and a DM I didn't know, that I both streamed and put up on YouTube, and that was sort of where I sunk a lot of my time for a while. That was a big learning experience for me in terms of 5th edition, and, you know, playing with a couple of people that were very much sticklers for the rules and know what you're doing every turn and stuff like that. And while that left in not a great manner, I did very much enjoy my time playing that, and I learned a lot from it. And I feel that that was where like a lot of my play experience came into fruition, being like the only player who knew what they were doing in a group of like 3 or 4. And yeah, that I think I left that about 3 or 4 days before I was due to guest on Dungeon Select.
Yeah.
For personal reasons between me and the DM. And I remember talking to you and Soko, and saying like, look guys, I really don't want to leave this group because I don't want to stop playing D&D.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the same time, I know that I need to leave the group. And it was really difficult for me, and then I sort of just, like a stray house cat, stuck along.
I mean, hey man, you're not sick if you get, so, you know. Yeah. No, that's also a thing that I kind of, since we're getting towards the end of this like arc, you know, you're about to fight the big bad of Ectomaster background. What I really want to achieve is that after this all, the group is a lot closer and at least have some modicum of respect for each other, where if something were to happen to any of them, they would all feel the need to act, I guess. Now, there is the whole thing with Nicole being a little bit of a weirdo, you know, trying to steal Kissaron's booze and her decking him in the face. That stuff that'll, you know, you've barely... shit happens, but as a whole, like, in general, what I wanted to achieve with this arc is that the group just feels a little more like a group of friends and not just like a ragtag group of people that were thrown together.
Yeah. It's...
and I think that that's going all right. You know, I don't want to like toot my own horn, but I feel like that's going in at least in the direction that I wanted it to go. There's a lot of things that could have gone differently. Shit could have gone very terribly wrong. Shit could have gone a lot better. Especially when it comes to the various defenses in and around the house. I feel like y'all triggered way too many traps than I care to admit. But other than that, you know, compared to most episodes, this one was pretty linear, I guess, because you are going to the estate. The estate will only have, you know, Iandek is going to be in one of the rooms, so, you know, the only thing it could have gone differently was like, oh, you didn't explore this room. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward.
Well, he's in none of the rooms we checked. I guess we'll leave.
Guess we'll go home, boys.
But then, even then, you've got the conflict resolution's never a linear.
Yeah, definitely.
Set defined thing. Like, there are multiple ways to complete conflict or resolve a conflict, and that comes down to the party. And I think specifically in this, it comes down quite a lot to Actanis.
Yeah.
I think from all of the episodes, these last couple are the first time we've seen people like Abberan and Kisaren sort of defer to Actanis and the way that she wants to do things. Before, it's been fairly contested, but this is very much her fight.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. Definitely, like as a DM, you can only prepare you set the stage, but at the end of the day, it's the players that decide how the play is going to go. So like I prepare the stage and I put the stuff in, but the way you handle the stuff and the way you interact with things and the way you resolve things, that's what makes the story like, oh. So yeah, I can't be credited for everything because I give you the stuff you need, but what you do with the stuff is up to you guys, right? That's kind of the way D&D works. I'm just kidding, chat. Everything is scripted. We read scripts every week. All my players. There's people that to this day believe that Critical Role is scripted. Like, people to this day believe that Critical Role is scripted, and it blows my mind. Yeah.
Having played even just a little bit, it's like I don't know how you can see that interactions like that are scripted.
You can't script 4-hour sessions.
Honestly, it would require more effort and skill to script and fake those.
Than to improv it.
Then it is to improvise.
Definitely. Bell taking more morphine is scripted.
I mean, yeah, it should be. She needs it. It's the one thing that has to be set in stone.
Speaking of scripts, I have some questions. That's yikes, dude. Yo, after the stream, alright, dude? Just
break the line.
Let's talk about Abberan, dude. Gypsy. Let's just
You
talk
the man.
about. Whoa!
Thanks for the sub, you fucking legend.
Daddy Dimmers
Shattergeek gifted a tier 1
got a
sub to
gifted
Sassy
sub
Sinners.
from Shattergeek.
Given 2 gift subs in the channel.
Thank you, Shatter. Thanks for gifting Sassy that sub. That's a big pog.
Yeehaw.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you. You've done way more than I ever would have thought anyone would do for me because smile. So thank you for the support. Okay, Kona. Let's talk about Abberan. Why did you create Abberan? Why? Just walk us through your, the process of creating Abberan. Why did you make certain decisions? Why is Abberan the character that he is?
So I thought of playing an Asmar for a while because I've admitted this on stream a few times. I have a penchant for tieflings.
You do. You really do.
I really do. So I was like, okay, I want to play something that is completely the other end of the spectrum, you know? People don't look at you with that sort of fear and disgust. And then the more I started to think about and get into character, the more I started to draw a lot of parallels, which I think is why Abberan feels like he has quite a lot in common with Actanis. Because it seems like they are literally polar opposites.
Yeah, but Aasimar and Tieflings as a whole are polar opposites.
Yeah, literally.
Tieflings is the blood of a human mixed with that of an infernal, demon, devil, whatever. Whereas Aasimar is humans, but their blood is mixed with that of a god, like a divine being. It's literally the polar opposite. It's
opposite sides of the coin, and yet there are certain things that I feel are intrinsically common to both of them, both belonging and not belonging.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, when especially when, as is common with, I think, a fair few tieflings in Aasimar now in 5e, when you're born to two human parents, and it's like your parents can love you as much as they want, but you're never going to be normal. Like, people are always going to know that there's something different about you, and people are always going to treat you differently because of that.
Yeah.
It might be less inherently malicious towards Bran than it is towards Actanis, but I think he still feels that definite outcast, outlier.
Yeah, it's like Mel says, you're still, at the end of the day, you're still a freak.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you're still a freak. You might be a freak that is divine, and people...
It's like how in X-Men, people are like, oh, you're a mutant? That's weird. You know, like,
yeah, I think
they fear them because they're powerful, but at the same time, they're only people, man. They just have they're just people. They just happen to, you know.
It's like I
have a little bit of freak background.
I think it's the first episode with Abberan. And
that's where with Ash's burial and all that, right?
Yeah, when we were in the tavern having like reminiscing and drinks, or it might be the session after, but Bran sort of has a sit down with Actanis and says, "Look, like, I get that you don't have to listen to me, and I get that we're different, and that you think that, you know, everyone's afraid of you because of what you are, but everyone's afraid of tieflings because of what they represent, especially in..." So Bran grew up in a fairly small village, and we haven't really discussed this on stream, but this is something that me and Dutch know already. That, you know, he grew up in a very, very small village, and when you're in places like that, it's less relevant that you're an Aasimar of Rios and more relevant that you are an Aasimar. But people don't have that education necessarily where they would know, oh, you know, an Aasimar is just someone that has divine heritage.
Yeah.
And there's that sort of like fear of like, people are gonna, if someone's told a lie, they're gonna turn around and look at the Aasimar and be like, has the Aasimar noticed that I've lied? You know, people have that inherent fear and worry of being found out for whatever sins they perceive that they've committed.
Because religion is scary, you know, that's kind of a thing, right? People are always going to be scared of the judgment of the gods, so to have someone who has that divine power, who is infused with literally the blood of a god, who is in contact with in your case with the god of war, Rios, and you being a cleric of the war domain, that just fit super well, and it's sick. But you being in contact with Rios, who is a god, that just gives people, that scares people. Like, even though you can be as lawful good as you want to be, as you physically can be, people are still going to fear you because you have powers that they don't. You have, even though the powers are good in nature, you have powers that people don't. Therefore, they're scared because you could use those powers against them in one way, shape, or form.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, obviously, at his very base, Abberan is just a person, the same as everyone else and every other party member. But I think people, especially towards Aasimar, they're not going to be outright offensive because they fear offending the gods. But they're always going to have that sort of distance and that coldness and that, like, fake politeness. Because, you know, don't be too friendly with the Aasimar. They'll tell the gods all the bad things you did. And
yeah,
those sort of, like, backwards, small town views, I think, are a lot of what makes Bran almost desperate to have that sort of connection with other people.
That also draws a lot of, like, you know, I grew up in a very religious town before, like, until I was like 12. I lived in this, like, very, like, reformed, very religious, small village And me and my parents were the only ones in the village that didn't go to church every Sunday and that didn't really practice religion. But there was really like this thing, like people in that village that I lived in. This is a true story, by the way. Like, I'm not shitting you. They feared doing anything wrong. They were so scared of like, oh, I better not do this because I'm going to church on Sunday and I'm gonna be fucking scolded. Like, they feared judgment, and I was like, wow, that's crazy, dude. And I was like, when my parents were like, hey, we're moving, I was like, thank you, get us out of here. We do not belong here, and I hate this place. Is wild. So, and the fact that Aasimar, in a way, really draw a lot of like that just the way they work and the way they work in most D&D settings draws a lot of like things that are real. Like that shit happens for real. People fear the judgment of God. If people can get so religious to the point where they're not religious because they have faith. They're religious because they fear God, right? That blows my mind. I'm not a practitioner of the faiths because of that experience. Kind of made me say, like, at a very young age, like, this whole religion thing, not my cup of tea. If you're religious, lit, I'm not that type of guy.
I mean, you say that, but literally, like, look at the rise of Christianity in the early rise of the Church of England and such.
Mm-hmm.
As much as, and I'm in no way talking shit about anyone's religion.
No, me neither. Like, that's
but the
last
reason
thing I would do.
That people of noble birth pushed religion so heavily in the early formulation of serious countries, or not serious countries, but the reason that religion was so heavily pushed is because it was a way to keep the common folk in line. If you can instill the fear of an almighty power, then you can control people's behavior with that.
Yeah, so the fun thing is that that whole background for Abberan just resonates to me on a personal level, because like I've seen people who fear like that are like, oh, don't let the priest see you do this because they'll tell God, smile, God sees all. Like, I've seen people who are like that. So to the fact that Abberan has that like similar background, that just resonates with me on a personal level.
It's really offset with Abberan as a person, because he's not the sort of person to turn around and be like, I'm gonna have to tell on you because you stole that loaf of bread so you can feed your children.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, even if he was connected to,
they don't know that. That's the thing. Yeah. They don't know that. That's the thing.
No, they don't know. They don't really care what you're an Aasimar of. It's the fact that you are an Aasimar and you represent that judgment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm really excited, like, because Abberan is also the only character of the core group that doesn't really have like a full-fledged. For a lot of the characters, I have an idea of where I have like plot hooks, right? I can be like, oh, personal story arc. I can draw from this and I can do that. And the Ronk has this, and Nicole has that. Abberan is the only one that I don't really have that yet, so I'm really curious to see what you come up with as well.
Yes, it's because obviously it was meant to be a guesting thing, but then
exactly.
There's a lot less fleshed out backstory at first.
So, but I'm excited to I'm excited to see what you cook up for Abberan and what I can work with and fuck around with. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So Gwen is a character that you've used before. You said that has been on your like your go-to. Oh, I need a character for a role-playing thing. I got Gwen type of thing.
I've used her once before, so
okay.
It was that one. To be quite honest, the version that I'm playing in this one versus the one that I had, a little bit different. She was a little more,
definitely,
upper class, a little more snotty, a little more.
Yeah. Just without going too into the backstory and all that. Just why is Gwen and why is she who she is and why does she do what she does? Could you just walk me through? You're like, okay, I gotta make a character. Like, just walk me through that process.
So, Gwen is the way she is because of her. I'll just say because of her family. there's a lot in her history that she won't talk about because, and I've mentioned this kind of slightly at the beginning when I described her, and that, you know, when you see her, she looks like she's 16, you know, maybe 17. She's very young looking, but if you like talk to her and like look into her, kind of think like a little bit like Doctor Who, where, oh yeah, Matt Smith, he's like this like 20-something-year-old guy, and then you look in his eyes, it's like, that's not the eyes of a young guy.
Yeah, because but like, why did you decide to create the character that is Gwen? Like, why? You know, because you're a human sorcerer. You chose that background that you chose. Like, why is this the type of character that you enjoy playing?
Well, it's semi based off of a story that I have been wanting to write, and never really sat down to write. So it kind of gives me a chance to adapt the story a little bit and change it up, and play out the character, and play the character how I see her in my head. That way I can kind of, you know, maybe refine it, maybe change the story up. Because I would love, I mean, to be quite honest, I would love to sit down and just maybe go, maybe I could sit and write a story like completely about, you know, about this. And it gives me that opportunity to get into the headspace and to play the character, you know. Yeah, I you know, you were talking about how the group has that family dynamic. And I jokingly said...
Getting to that, yeah.
Yeah, getting to that. I'm like, well, yeah, then Gwen comes along, and she's like the bratty teenager that nobody wanted.
Fair.
And that's kind of how I'm, like, how I play her, because, and if this is too much, let me know, but that's how a lot of people have treated her, that, oh, she's just a kid. And so she gets really annoyed that that's how everybody sees her. I'm not just a kid. I am much more powerful than you think.
Yeah, fair. I am excited though for because Gwen has a pretty good background and an interesting story to potentially down the line.
I'm working on like fleshing it out too.
Yeah, like potentially down the line. You know, Gwen coming back to the party and being like, okay, I need help with something. You know, and make that like a little, instead of the party doing a personal storyline for themselves, helping someone that they've met along the way out with something personal.
Yeah,
that'd be pretty cool as well. The only thing is, like, logistics-wise, is we're gonna have to have you available for several weeks on end to work through that. But yeah, like if and when that time ever comes, that'd be something I'm really interested in. Like the story and the campaign is obviously centered around the party that exists, but you know, the allies that they meet along the way and calling back to those allies for help, or those allies calling them for help, I think is a good way to explore different, especially in D&D, man. There's so many fucking things that you could do. There's so many different enemy types. There's so many different realms to visit. There's so many different fucking ways you could, you know. You're adventurers. Every chapter is just another adventure that you go on and you grow and along the way. It's a fucking RPG, man. Side quests, bro. There's so many fucking things you can do. It's crazy. So yeah, fucking. There's a lot of shit that could happen. That will not happen this campaign, maybe, but then will definitely happen in the campaign that if that ever were to be a thing. It's wild. So yeah, that's interesting. We met an NPC called Peldil that Gwen knew from a little encounter with the Frost Giant. Peldil is a character that I'm going to be playing in a D&D campain DM'd by Gypsy, which will start this Saturday on his channel. So, little plug, you know, you want to just talk a little bit about that? Little plug for that campaign,
this
dude?
is it's going to be Saturday starting at 3 p.m. GMT, which is 4 p.m. for you.
Yep.
And it's my first ever campaign as DM. I've done maybe 4 one-shots of DMing before being like, you know what? Just going to write a campaign. So yeah, that's the thing that's coming up. I have the brilliant players of Dutch, Bacola, Seto Koiba, and the Iandek Panda. We are going to be hopefully having guests on at some point. It should be really good. I'm really, really, really excited.
I'm excited too, man. I'm excited to get from behind my DM screen and actually get to play.
I think it's interesting as well. Like, it'll be interesting to see how much my DMing is influenced by you and vice versa. Because obviously you are the largest source of DMing at the moment that I have. So that'll be interesting.
We'll see, man. I mean, at the end of the day, even the fucking rule books of D&D 5e say that these are not meant to be Fallout strictly. They are merely guidelines. They're like the Pirates Code in that sense, where it's literally these are guidelines. Like guidelines. At the end of the day, it's your game, and you decide. Some people take issue to that. Some people don't. I've broken some rules in my day as a campaign already, because I was like, oh, rule of cool. Kisserin wants to do some sick waterbending shit that is technically not allowed with shape water. Fuck that shit. Just doing it anyway because it's fucking cool.
I think the rules of D&D, especially 5e, which is the most loose interpretation of the rules that they've ever published, I think the rules should be seen as a framework, and as long as they're there supporting the story and character growth and enjoyment at the end of the day, that's great. Yeah. But if that framework is holding that back, then don't be afraid to like strip something out or rework it, make it fit, just to make sure that you're not constraining your players.
Homebrewing is such an essential part of what makes D&D what it is. The Iandek, like, because I have already several things that I put in the campaign so far were homebrew. The Headless Horseman fight. The Headless Horseman, I didn't homebrew myself, but I took someone else's homebrew and kind of added my own little twist to it and put that in our campaign. Alright, Shadow, no worries, man. My DMs are open, so, you know. Yep.
I mean,
at the fucking weapons. Octana's her weapon. I created myself. That axe with the thing, I made that myself. Oh no! Gypsy!
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Monka! You're muted.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey guys, nice to see that Discord still doesn't crash when you mute it.
Oh my god. It's like... So yeah, Octana's her axe is one that I made myself. What else? The pendant that Nicole wears is something that I made myself.
I mean, even down to Abberan's appearance, because I spoke to you about that and I was like, it makes sense that it would reflect his heritage, but that's not the way the book describes them. A flail isn't the starting weapon for a cleric.
Yeah, but like you've had bad experience. You're a war cleric. You have seen battle. So if you're like, I want to use this weapon because that makes me happy, then who am I to say no? You're not allowed.
Well, yeah,
right?
I mean, the reason I went with a flail is because traditionally in medieval combat, flails were used against armored opponent. Because it was seen as the most efficient and best weapon against fights like that where you're on an even footing. Things like spears and longswords were generally used against unarmored opponents when you were in armor. And I think in Bran's mind, he's always going to want to be fighting someone...
You want this like honorable combat type feel.
Yeah, so for him, a flail makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like your appearance as well, like you don't look like your typical Aasimar, but makes sense for your background and the story we are trying to tell. So like, who am I to say no, right? Like,
no, you have to have a halo and wings. And...
Yeah, exactly. Like fucking, if shit sounds or looks cool or just makes more sense, fucking do it. Any aspiring DMs out there, if anyone tells you something is not allowed, they're not fit to be a DM. Because everything is allowed, because it's your world. You created the world. You're literally the god of your world. You decide what goes. Now, of course, you can also go a little too far, but like for the most part, it's like you're the one in charge. This entire world that we play in lives up here, so I'm the one that decides what happens in that world because it's all up here, right?
It's like the players make the characters. The characters are interacting with your world, so your characters, as long as you said, the rules are the guideline.
Yeah,
you can follow it. But if you want to do A, and it sounds pretty awesome, fuck it.
Yeah, like
don't care what the rules say. Let's do A.
Yeah, exactly. I'm also working on a lot of homebrew shit to come for like later on. We've mentioned artifacts of the Sundering before, which are artifacts made when just a meteor slide, kind of just like a rock slide from space, just fucking tore open a part of the world that created the province now known as the Burning Scar, and that Sundering created artifacts, weapons, armor, just infused with otherworldly magic, and I'm creating all of those from scratch, and balancing those is the biggest issue, and I'm making sure that they are balanced, and that's why it's taken a lot of time, and it's definitely something that you won't be finding anytime soon. Damn it. And that's for when your characters get to the double digits of levels. That's when we'll start looking at the Iandek boss fight is my first completely self-made boss fight. I drew inspiration from some others, and then I just decided, okay, so he's a vampire, but he's gonna be a different type of vampire, and I stripped pretty much everything from the basic 5e vampire, and yeah, the Iandek fight is something completely made by me, and I'm really excited. And I'm also shitting it for you guys to face that, because what if I made him too OP? Oh, what if this? What if that? So that's gonna be interesting. Because my first like fully original like enemy, I guess you could say.
I'm feeling some holy smiting coming on.
Oh, and then not to jump in on that, but it's also your completely original character. If you're not wanting to completely kill the group here, you can easily on the fly make the adjustment.
Yeah, obviously. When I noticed during the fight that, oh wait, this is a little OP, I can just. But for the most part, yeah. One thing that I was a little scared of with Iandek is because Iandek is one of the few characters we've seen so far that isn't of my creation. Iandek is a character made by Belle, because she wrote Ectomaster backstory, and she was like, okay, there's this lord called Iandek, and he hates me because I ran away, blah blah blah. He wants, but the whole, like, when I decided to like put in that whole vampire twist of like, okay, he is really obsessed with he's not used to being rejected, so Ectomaster's rejecting him, really pissed him off and caused him to spiral down into this just manic, like crazy, almost like borderline insane chase, causing him to find friends in low places that gave him gifts to make him stronger, because that's really all he's cared for. Essentially all he cares for is might, this power, and and getting what he wants. So I was a little like, okay, I'm gonna take this character that someone else made and I'm going to completely do a 180 on him, but it's in a way where it still makes sense, because he's power hungry, and he doesn't like rejection. So like there's not a lot more powerful. Let me rephrase. A mere human cannot become much more powerful than a vampire, than becoming a vampire. When it comes to mere, like, just basic humans that aren't really skilled in anything, vampirism is one of the very few things that they can do to become just insanely powerful real quick. Touch describing my ex-girlfriend, yikes. Yeah, but it's tough, because if it's something that I created myself, I can just be like, oh, by the way, that Rokul character that you guys met, yeah, he's this now, smile. And it's like, you guys just have to deal with it, because that's my character. I made him my property, smile. But when I took, like, Belle's, I had a lot of, like, DMs with Belle about, her circus friends, and Iandek to make sure that the character that they've ended up seeing and meeting in game were the characters that Belle has had in her head because they're of her creation, right? So yeah, I try my best. Yo, what's up, Grandmaster Player? Dancing to make Dutch dance too.
Hey, Monica.
That's about all you're gonna get.
Hey, Monica.
Let's see. Okay, so we talked about Gwen, we talked about Abberan, we talked about a lot of things already. Okay. Before I continue, do you guys have any questions about the campaign so far or the last episode that you're like, oh, what if this? What would have happened before I continue?
I want to know what Gwen's fortune would have been that you had set up. That's what I want to know.
Oh, the fortune teller. Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, no, yeah, because I wrote a fortune for everyone, just in case anyone, you know, like I can't predict who's going to do the fortune telling. So I made something for everyone.
If you can remember, if not, that's not a big deal.
Yeah, I have it saved somewhere, but it was basically going to be about your staff being a lot more powerful than it actually is, and it would have given you a little more of a idea on how to unlock its true potential. Like, okay, there's more to the staff than meets the eye. You're not even utilizing half of its current like potential power.
It's Optimus Prime. Got it.
That's just, yeah. It would have kind of the same, and that would have combined very well with the book that you found that depicts that staff and tells about his background. That would have combined really well. Yeah. So that would have been. What's up? Wait, who has a question? Soko, what's up? What's up? Is Brian's favorite food ham and cheese sandwiches?
Who's Brian?
Tough, dude.
I would say no. I don't like ham.
You don't like ham?
Better, or bologna.
Ham is lit.
Cold cut ham. Cold cut ham.
Who do people think is the leader of the group? Oh boy.
Ooh.
Me? Smile?
See, this depends.
I don't know, man. That's tough.
Are we talking about face of the party or leading in decisions?
I guess both a little bit?
I feel like Bran acts as the moral compass of them.
Yeah, I would agree with that, I think, yeah.
But even then, Bran himself isn't lawful good. Like, we've seen him pull some things that no one's yet questioned about, in order to skirt the law for the sake of the others, which is a very chaotic good thing to do. Face of the party, I would say, depending on the situation, either Kisaren or Naronk. I feel that in more serious scenarios, Kisaren's more happy to take the lead, and in the more frivolous scenarios, Naronk is definitely the instigator. Coupled with Nicole, I think Nicole's definitely an instigator of fun times and trouble.
Momager Kisaren.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is, you all have your like individual properties. For instance, when you lot entered the city, turned out that Naronk, being a member of the Order of the Obscure, knows Judge Elwyn, like the highest ranking like judge, and who was about like the whole immigration thing. Like, oh, are you allowed to enter the city? That definitely gave your group a little bit of an edge. Like, oh, okay, like they're with him, whatever, dude. But then there's you, Abberan, who definitely, when it comes to yeah, like definitely moral compass wise, like, oh, hey man, listen,
Dick move.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's Nicole, who, sure, for the most part, is a little bit of the funny guy. Ah, he's funny, he's silly. Ooh. But there's more to him than that.
Speaking as a not to interrupt, I'm sorry, Dutch.
Yeah, it's all good.
speaking as an outsider coming in, just like Gwen just, sitting back and looks and goes, well, the group meshes well together. I don't see one true leader, but as a group working together to solve the problem.
And that's kind of the goal. I don't want there to be one person that is like, oh, I'm the boss. So
touching a necrophying handle, probably not the best move, but
Yeah, who the fuck did that again? Oh wait, Edwards.
Technically, I only touched a shocking handle, thank you.
Yeah, but there was one blue dragonborn guy that was just like, oh, I'm gonna touch this.
I'm gonna step. Oh, my favorite part is where Nicole goes, "Hey guys, there's a trap here. Maybe we should disarm it rather than just step over it and leave it." And then steps over it and leaves it and gets burned.
The fucking flamethrower, yeah. That was...
Which is why.
While we were playing, I thought he was with you guys and also stepped back. I didn't realize he stepped over it and moved towards the door.
He specified. He said, "Hey guys, we probably shouldn't just step over this and leave it," and then stepped.
The thing is, that's the only, like, all those traps in those hallways would have all come from above, pretty much. Except that one. That one would come from the wall, from the direction where the door is in, that you were heading in. That was the only trap that would come from that. I mean, listen, Belle, just don't get hit by the bite. Smile. That's the thing about vampires, man. Vampires, they suck, literally. They literally suck your life force out of you. So that combined with, you're facing a vampire, the fact that some of you are on lower max HP, it's gonna make it tough, but you have 2 healers to have your back, so hopefully that'll be enough.
On top of that as well, Actanis, so Rufus, is always gonna be the target in this instance, surely.
She's definitely going to be the priority, yeah.
Which means when she's up front, she's gonna get wailed on. Yeah,
definitely. So that it's up to the party to figure out how to deal with that, because Iandek has one target in his mind, and that is Sir Rufus. He wants revenge against Sir Rufus. So logically, most of his attacks are going to be aimed towards her, unless someone else really fucks him up or does him a bad one. Yeah, that's going to be the nature of the fight, because this entire thing is him wanting revenge against her. So why the fuck would he bother with attacking everyone else besides her first? Like, that wouldn't make sense.
Just throw fireballs at him. I'm sorry, that's my solution to everything.
I've already told you my weeby fight.
Pretty good solution.
I've already told you my weeby fight plan for. Let's not spoil that one.
So there's I'm very scared for Sunday. It's the first fight where I'll be like rephrase. The first planned fight, Soko, where I think character death could be a thing if you guys don't watch out or the dice really fuck you over. Yeah,
we really classified what happened to Ash as a fight. That was abuse at the bare minimum, if not like a straight up assassination.
Yeah, but if he would have just given up the fight, like, he put up a fight and that's what got him killed. He would have like, it was very true to character to put up the fight. I'm not scolding him for that, but that was super not in the books. Like, I assumed that everyone would just be knocked out by all the various spell save DCs they would have had to roll, because they were pretty high. But no, apparently.
But then that leads on to the whole of the concept of what's true to the character versus what's best for you and the party. There are always going to be things that it's not beneficial for you or the party, and yet to be true to character you have to do it.
Yeah, like, Soko played it perfectly. I feel like in that instance, he played it perfectly. So like I said, I'm not blaming him for anything. It was just I was not prepared for them to even encounter Rayson. Like, they would see him and he would like knock them all out, but that would be it. But that just fucking spiraled into just a clusterfuck of really good rolls on Soko's part. I had to improv the shit out of that. Like that was one of them. I think
so many outs. You were worried.
I was really worried. Yeah, because I had designed Rayson as a boss or something for way later on. So when I saw Soko was going to fight him, I was like, you know. But it happened the way it happened, and I think that even though I had to improv my ass off and really wasn't prepared, I think I gave him, you know, a good send-off. It was emotional, it was intense, but I didn't back down. It was my first character death as a DM to deal with, so for me it was also like, wait, am I doing this? And there was a split second where I was like, I'm not going to do it, but I was like, no, I have to. This is how it's going. He's going to die. Like, I knew. The second Ash said, and I think I can quote this, is that, or when Soko said for Ash doesn't back down, I knew, all right, well, he's dead.
It's one of those things. You don't want to kill off a character, but if you hadn't, you would have belittled his choices.
Exactly. Like, then why even roll dice, you know, at that point?
It was a very tense, and like watching it live was very emotional, and I think that's why I felt such nerves and pressure for when I joined. Dutch will tell you guys, because I messaged him, I hounded him about it day and night. I spent about 3 days trying to like plan out and write the perfect sort of little eulogy and funeral rites for a character that I'd in theory never met.
Yeah, and me and Gypsy literally had calls about, okay, the party's gonna meet you at the temple while they are going to, you know, like the way I wrote that episode was, they're going to get Ash a proper burial. Like Rakul is gonna send them in that way. Like railroad them a little bit to make sure that meeting Gypsy meeting Abberan feels natural. Like I railroaded them a little bit in that episode, but it was necessary because I had, you know, they had to meet you and connect with you. So I held their hand a little bit. But yeah, like we spent a lot of time talking about this whole like you're gonna be like leading that ceremony, even though you've never met the character. So yeah, we literally had like a
I think it was about 3 in the morning at one point. I messaged you, and to the other time it seemed like such a simple question to me, and now as a DM I know that I was a pain in the ass. And I think it was about 2:30, 3 in the morning. I'm like, oh, by the way, like, what are the general people's consensus on what happens to you when you die? Like, what's the afterlife belief that's prominent throughout the world? And it's like, what? No one ever writes that when they're DMing. Like, no one has that written down and prepared that, oh, you know, well, this sort of people believe that this happens. And
no, it's kind of a thing that just, you know, kind of just happens. No one knows what happens until it happens. To meet someone railroading almost has to happen. Yeah, yes and no. Kind of depends, but yeah, like I definitely had to hold your hand a little bit in the form of Rokul, the NPC that I made. That was like, okay, I feel bad about Ash. We should probably give him somewhat of a burial. Let's go to the temple and do that right now. I think that's the most railroading I've done in the campaign so far.
See, it's an interesting point as well, because you had to railroad the party to me, and I sort of had to railroad myself to them.
Yeah.
Like, going back and watching it, Bran's sort of joining the party is sort of like, okay, you've got to buy me a drink now. Because I had to find a way to attach myself to the group in a way that was natural rather than just, I'm following you guys now. I hope you don't mind.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like you did that pretty well. And then with Gwen, when you guys were supposed to meet Gwen was really, like, I didn't really have to railroad. It was really easy because me and Ecto have decided that Gwen would be, you know, like serving as somewhat of a security guard, kind of head of security of the circus in exchange for her being able to travel along for free because she has places to go. So that was a pretty easy like way to introduce Gwen to the party. It was just like, yeah, she's there as head of security, so, you know, and that was very easy.
I think joining was going to be a little railroading. It's like, I'm coming no matter what. It's like,
but it's also pretty true to your character though. Like she is that like, okay, this fucker has now dragged me into this. Like this Iandek dude made, like you said it, made me use my staff that I don't really don't really use that way. So that means it's serious. That means it's business. Like, it's really true to Gwen as a character. It's okay. You made me use stronger powers than I care to admit. It's on, you know, that type of thing. So I wouldn't really necessarily call that like railroading. It feels very natural to who you've depicted Gwen as. So, and I'm really excited to see that boss fight and see Gwen just whip out all kinds of fucking shit. That's gonna be fucking tough, dude.
I have some things I still haven't used yet on the staff. That's why.
I know. I know. I gave
There's some things.
I gave you that staff, motherfucker. I know exactly what it does.
I know. I was hesitant to use the Mantle of Flame, but I figured 4 vampires standing around might as well.
Yeah, Sassy. Railroading is taking away. Railroading is guiding your players to a certain point and kind of taking away their ability to choose. But done in a way, yeah. Like
there's one track.
There's one track, and you're going that way.
You go forward.
And that's something you typically try to avoid when doing D&D. Because the beautiful thing about D&D is that there is choice. If the party one day is like, you know what, dude, let's take a break and just go fucking gambling all night, they can do that. That's a thing that could happen.
Make sandwiches.
The obligatory anime "we're going to the beach" episode. You know, I'm waiting for that to happen at some point. Where they're just like, you know what, dude, we've had a tough time. Let's go to the beach and just have mimosas. You know, like that could happen. And that pushes my story back a little bit, but that's the thing about D&D is they are characters and they live their lives, and if those characters feel like, you know what, dude, we've been through a lot, let's just take a little bit of a break, I'm just gonna have to sit there and be okay with it, because they, like I said before, I give them the tools, but they tell the story. I give them the stage and I give them their props, but they're the ones that have to tell the story at the end of the day. So if they decide to take it slow for a session and not do much, like where you'll mainly see this happen is like between plot points, right? So after that, the Actanis arc closes, you'll probably see an episode where they kind of take a chill, you know, do some drinking, do some games, just kind of low-key, you know, very like chill. And that's because those characters go through a lot, and you know they need breaks from time to time, right? Like if you just imagine you being, oh, we just killed this fuck off big vampire boss, let's immediately go fight a dragon. No, you don't do that. You're like, oh, I just spent how much days have been gone by in game? Like over a week, I think. The travel to just circus was almost a week already. It was like 6 days. So like yeah, like over a week. Dealing with more than that, because they already dealt with this Iandek thing in Kalzir when he tried to, like when he first launched like this attack on the group. So by the end of this, like probably like, you know, a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, you're not going to be wanting to immediately go into something else that's of similar caliber, right? You want to take that like, oh fucking hell, breather. It's like when you play a video game, right? When you play a game and there's several hang on, I gotta make sure that I word this right. You have a collection of video games, right? And you complete a game, a very story heavy like game. You completed that. At least for me personally, I'll have a moment of like, okay, that took me a lot of time. I'm just gonna play some multiplayer games to kind of relax in between 2 very story heavy games. Kind of thing. Where it's like, okay, it's a lot of information to process. I gotta take a little bit of a breather before I can move on to the next one. I guess that's me personally. Just
finished Tomb Raider. Let me go play golf with your friends.
Yeah, it's exactly like, okay, we've just closed this chapter of a story. Let's have a little downtime before we go into the next one.
Yeah, I mean,
that's at least
downtime's important as characters as well, because
you bond and
your downtime is when you bond and when you cover things. And so, for example, both myself and Koiba have mentioned wanting to deal with spy, yeah, but also deal with Devronk's sticky fingers. Like, it's something that I want to discuss, and we both in character want to discuss. And, you know, in real life, you'd probably sit back and talk about it, but, you know, there's shit going on, and but neither of them are selfish enough to hold everything out to be like, hold on, we need to sort this shit. It's one of those things, simmering, but it needs to be dealt with after everyone's safe and happy. And
yeah, exactly. And it's one of those, like, there's a time and place for everything, and if there is drama in the group, like for instance, you know, you just figured out that Kasseran is a wanted serial killer.
And we haven't had time to.
You haven't really had time to
that.
properly address that, and like she told you the story, but there wasn't really a lot of time for that to properly be digested because you were dealing with the Sectanus thing. So that's gonna definitely be something that's gonna be talked about. Nakul getting decked across the face by Kasseran because Nakul supposedly stole that bottle of booze, right? Like, there's a lot of things that happen on the road, but because there's this just big, heavy, overhanging threat to deal with, that kind of takes the back seat. And when there is a moment of time where there is a little downtime, that can be pulled to the front. And we're like, okay, now that we dealt with that, the fuck are you up to, Nicole? Huh? You know, like that. Because that's where the family thing starts to really grow and stuff. And with Gwen, like, I already know that I'm going to call back to Gwen, like, get Gwen back involved more, you know, for future things, because Gwen is like the first real ally that the group meets that doesn't stick around. They have Rokul and Mokin, the guys from the Hunters Order that are now kind of working on tracking down the Council of Roskilde. That Abberan doesn't fucking know about yet, anyway. So you know, they'll come back occasionally to be like, "Oh, hey, we found one of them. Let's fucking get him," type of thing. But other than that, Gwen is the first, like, character that is fresh, is new, has a story of her own to tell, and it has kind of been there for their real first, like, proper going out of our way to do this adventure type thing. Because they went for the Chromosphere, but that was more like, okay, we got an invitation, I'm intrigued, let's go check it out. There's some form of self-interest in there. Oh, I can get money for this? Lit. Then the whole Keldar's Hunters thing, where they figure out about the council. There's also, like, more like oh wait, they know of me, shit, I need to make sure that I'm not on their shit list. But this is the first time where there's literally no none of the characters besides Sectanus really gains anything from this. There's no promise of gold. There's no, like, no one really achieves a win here besides Actanus, really.
Which then is the point of, as a party and as you grow closer, that becomes a win for everyone.
Yeah, definitely, and which is definitely the goal. And once, you know, the more characters we tackle the backstory of, the more of a no-brainer it's going to become. We're like, oh shit, like, I don't know, fucking half a year from now, oh, Naronk has a problem, we need to help him. No one is going to question that anymore, because it's a given that you're going to help out, because he's part of that family, right?
And because
but with Actanus, that wasn't a given yet, because really no one really knows each other that super well just yet. So unless Naronk dies, hey man, it's the nature of the game. Nature of the game, Soko. It could happen.
Don't leak the script, Soko.
Yeah, don't leak the script. Episode 38 is going to be a banger.
Oh my god, if something bad happens in episode 38 now.
Oh my god. Clip it, chat. Clip it. And if something happens in episode 38, we were here, Pog.
We predicted it. It happened. There it
Episode
was.
38, boys. I'm gonna just do my best to make episode 38 a fucking beach episode.
I think.
And suddenly, bandits arrive.
Tiamat swoops down from the sky and eats you all.
Naronk fails a con save and drowns. In the sea. Was too busy trying to chat up a fucking mermaid.
So Ecto, since you are a guest of to this whole thing, I can understand that it's a little like hard in a way for you to be like super involved in the role play and stuff, because you are an outsider who's trying to like kind of just squeeze in for a little bit and then dip out again. How do you feel like it's going so far? Like these past 2 episodes, how do you feel like you as a player was able to say what you wanted to say and do what you wanted to do, and also Gwen as a character, so like both Gwen but also just Ectomaster himself?
So, as the player, part of me is still trying to gain my footing on how, not so much what, but how to play the game. How, it's like, okay, so what is it that I'm rolling again? Asking those questions to make sure that it's like, and if you saw, I was like, all right, I know what to do. Boom, boom, boom. I know what I'm hitting now.
Yeah.
So trying to get the role play action in it, there's a part of me up here that wants to tell some of her story, and would love to see some interaction that would lead to that. But at the same time, and this almost plays into her character, that again, she's just kind of getting overlooked. And it's just like, I can help. If anybody would just ask, I can help. And so it kind of... It's
pretty similar to what Abberan has as well. Like, Abberan has kind of that same struggle where he can do a lot of shit. He's not going to offer it until people ask. It kind of overlaps a little bit.
Like I said, I go back to this only because not only was it funny, but again, they're attempting to open a door that is magically sealed. Sure, there may be some cool things inside, but we saw that if you touch it, it hurts. We detected that it's magic, and what are we trying to do? Well, we're going to try and chop it down. That's not going to work. Hello?
I can dispel magic.
I can dispel magic.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, why didn't we do with that? You never asked, and nobody let me talk.
Yeah, fair. That's fair.
Like, I should have just like fireball out of nowhere. I can fix this. If it's that important, I can do this.
I think the thing with that as well, though, is that the majority of the members of the party, at least the characters...
Bell, that was after Gwen dispelled the magic. If the magic wouldn't have been dispelled, you would have not been able to tear down the door with your axe.
Bell,
physically impossible.
But yeah, in my mind, most of, if not all of the characters are used to dealing things on their own. Like, they're used to getting through it their way, and their way works, and that's fine. And it's interesting to see them sort of come to the realization that, okay, maybe if I let someone else do it, it'll go better. Like, it's really tempting when it's like, okay, well, you're walking down a passageway and everyone's like, I want to keep an eye out for stuff, and it's like, I think a lot of campaigns are like that at first, where everyone wants to be looking out for stuff, and then you sort of get to a point where you realize that there's no point in me looking out for that because so-and-so's looking out for it, and I'll do my thing back here. And
yeah, exactly. Like, oh, I'm not gonna look out for traps. Let's have Naronk do that, because Naronk is a +6 to his fucking investigation, just as an example, right? Like, at a certain point, the characters will know, oh, those people are more skilled at that than I am, so I'm not gonna bother even try. But at this point, because we're still early on in the adventures and the characters don't know each other like super well yet, yeah, you're gonna have a lot of that. But we're gonna get to a point where, oh, we're in a dark room here and I don't see shit. Yo, who can see well in the dark? Oh, you? Hey, yo, what do you see?
Yeah, I think as well is not just from a player point of view where you don't know who's good at what, but from a character point of view where we've all come along with Ectanis, for example, to help her deal with this. But But at the end of the day, we're still just a bunch of people who've stuck along. And I think part of Actanis knows that she needs the party, but part of Actanis would rather do it alone. Hence why, you know, Naronk's about to cut down a door, or about to lockpick a door, and Actanis cuts it down.
Yeah, that's
because
the thing.
Actanis would rather deal with it herself.
That's also where, you know, character development comes into play. Like 6 months from now, every character in the party will be a different character than they are. Will be but also be a different character than they are now, because they now have a family to fall back on, and they have this group of people around them that will help them. So you're also allowed to open up. They'll allow themselves to open up a little bit more. Be like, okay, listen, I might be a proud motherfucker, but I'm not too good at this, and I know you are. Could you just fucking do that for me, please? Thanks. You know, that's the nature of the beast.
Do this for me.
Yeah, but like, especially when we're talking about Actanis, that's definitely something that she would say. Okay, I'll allow you to do this for me. You know, as her way of being like, hey, listen, I need help, but I don't really want to ask. Type of thing, which is very true to character, I think, for Actanis in this instance. As for Gwen, you know, as much as the group is a stranger to Gwen is also a stranger to the group. So, like, Gwen is just, like, the first, like, outsider that kind of just invited herself in a way, where it's like, okay, y'all are going to this estate, I'm coming with you. I'm involved now, whether you like it or not, you know?
Which, you know, and I love the hesitation that they have. It's like, well, we don't know you. It's like,
yeah,
I know, don't care, I'm coming.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
yeah.
I can set things on fire. Would you like that or not?
But then, see, for me, it'll be really interesting after the Iandek fight, because that is the time we will have to interact with Gwen more.
Yeah, definitely.
Outside of a, hey, we're all about to die.
Yeah.
Which is the time when you start to make those connections more.
Yeah, definitely. So the real role play and the real who is Gwen actually will happen after this encounter is done with, because that's the first time they'll have the time to do so. So far they've kind of been pushed for time, like, okay, shit's going down, we need to deal with this now. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to see how that all ends up going. Like, me and Ecto need to just have a little, like, I kind of gave Gwen something to pursue, you know, like, so that she has something to do after this is all done.
Outside, yeah.
We know, with her whole staff being a little more than it actually seems to be with that book. So that Gwen has her own personal arc now to kind of like, oh, wait a second, go on that adventure on her own. And then, who knows, man, a few months from now, Gwen might return with her staff a little more, you know, powerful than it is now. Fuck knows. So yeah, like, the real RP with Gwen will take place after the fight's done, and there is some time to, like, okay, you can take a breather now. And that's gonna be fun, I think. I think that's gonna be really fun to see your character open up a little more.
Depending on how next week goes, you know, if we get the chance to connect after the fight, if the fight doesn't take the whole time, that would be great. If not, then I will try my best for the week after as well.
Just don't die.
Just don't die, Smile. Nah, like, I'm pretty sure there will be time for some downtime, because you're starting the session right away with combat.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's gonna be a 4-hour fight.
Okay, but what if we ignore actually talking to each other to ransack the house? Because we have some loot goblins in the party.
I mean, yeah, but, like, you know where the loot is. You've seen the loot. You just need to open the
So
door to get to the loot.
There might be some coins hidden behind a book, so I've got to go through every book in the
You guys pretty
library.
much investigated every room already, though. Like, you forget. Like, you've
What about
pretty
the
much
floorboards?
didn't roll a high enough investigation check.
Here's the big. What is the house made of, mostly?
Fun fact, Soko, garlic doesn't do shit to vampires in D&D.
If the house is mostly made of wood, then on Gwen's way out, she's just gonna touch, like, one of the beams.
No, it's made of stone. It's a stone building.
Oh, well then,
It's it's a very thick, very big looking stone bricks, but they have like this soot color almost. That's what I describe it as.
Fine then, never mind. I was gonna burn the whole house down. Just leave the ash behind.
You know the concept of taking a 20. For summer chat, there's one of the, I guess it's an optional rule for D&D. Realistically, if you spend enough time doing something, you should be able to succeed as long as it's feasibly possible.
Yeah.
So there's a concept of, there's taking a 10 Soko, but there's also taking a 20.
Yeah. Taking a 10 is like, oh, I want to quickly just read through this book like you did.
Taking a 10 is 10 minutes, and taking a 20 is 20 minutes. But if you take a 20 to investigate every single floorboard in the house, you might eventually find something.
Yeah, but you'll also spend a lot of in-game time doing that.
Yeah, 4 hours and everyone else has left you and you're just left alone with one rusty nail that you found underneath a floorboard.
Yeah. Like
guys, there's a coin hidden behind the... Guys?
I found a coin under the sofa.
Meanwhile, it's 6 months later.
Yeah. So, yeah, next week is going to be a lot of fun, both from just a fighting perspective. There's going to be a lot of fighting, because it's the first, like I said, it's the first boss fight where I feel like, okay, y'all are going to struggle a little bit. Like Headless Horseman, I was like, okay, yeah, you guys will be fine. The big berserker drow elf that you guys fought in Valley Village that way back, I was like, oh yeah, you'll be fine. Fucking Ras, I was like, oh yeah, they'll be fine.
Illithid.
The Illithid, I was like, oh, that's gonna be fine. Like, I nerfed him well enough, it's all good. This is going to be the first fight where I'm like, okay, this is going to be interesting. So I'm interested in to see how that is going to go. But like I said, I don't think it's going to be like a 2-hour plus fight. So like, we should be fine. But then again, it also fully depends on.
Be a lot quicker if you didn't have necromantic resistance.
I mean, yeah, but you know, I gave you guys a weapon that is very, very good against vampires. I gave you, like, Soko has, or Naronk also has a holy water that's gonna give him an edge. Naronk has 2 things now that are going to do a fuckload of damage to vampires. He has those wooden stakes and that stake crossbow, and he has a couple of bullets that are coated in holy water that just does a lot more damage to him.
Which page on the script is it where he gives the crossbow to Kassarin?
Oh, shit. Shit.
See, if that happens now, everyone's gonna just fucking shoot the script.
Watch, dude. I mean, if it happens now, we know the Soko is just metagaming just to be a meme. Because he's here, and he heard it. Right?
I mean... if we admit it's scripted, does that mean that Belle's no longer cheating because it's scripted?
You figured it out. You figured it out. You cracked the code, bro. Oh, man. Oh, your script ends halfway through the fight? Wonder why.
Jeez. You mean that line where it says that you lie on the floor? Oh.
Oops.
Whoops.
Yeah, Laura was really triggered by that holy water thing, but I took some time to message her, like, after Dungeon Select, after the stream, to be like, hey, listen.
I
get it.
Just having a bad day.
Yeah, like she said she was already in a weird mood. The whole like gypsy camera thing kind of pissed her off, and
I did apologize.
But yeah, like it's people can't always be in a good mood, right? So, but I explained it to her, and I also said like, okay, listen, I did the rule of cool before, because that was her argument. She was like, yeah, you've allowed me to do things through the rule of cool before, and I was like, yeah, that's true, but the rule of cool would have made you very OP all of a sudden. And I didn't really want to deal with having to balance that on the fly, so I decided to go by the book for this one.
Plus, there's bending the rules and there's breaking the rules.
Yeah, like, if she would have been able, because holy water does a fuckload of damage against vampires.
But it has a literal defined usage, and
yeah, it's like it has the same usage as coating your weapon in poison. You have exactly enough poison to coat one weapon or a handful of arrows, and after that, it's gone. It's over. You used it up. Holy water works the same way, so. Or holy oil, whatever the fuck.
I mean, if we'd known we were fighting vampires in advance, I could have made holy water, but.
Yeah, it takes you like what?
It takes me an hour.
An hour?
Well,
But
the problem is I need to have the spell prepared.
There you go. And it also says that as an action, you can coat your stuff in holy water, and an action is 6 seconds. So by the time that Naronk starts doing it, and Kaseran sees it, by the time she moseys on over there, he's already done it.
Moseys on over.
Like he's already done it. But he's already done it by that time, because it's only 6 seconds, man. It's not like Naronk is gonna be like, oh, someone's talking to me, I'm gonna stop what I'm doing. Like, I can talk while doing what I'm doing, right?
I think everyone's overestimating the amount of holy water that it is. It's not like you uncork it and just pour it out and splash it everywhere. It's literally like a couple of drops. It's like a tear vial.
Yeah, basically. It's like, I described it as a little itty bitty flask, but like it's not big.
Like, you get maybe a drop on each bullet, and that's your holy water done.
Yeah, it kind of
infuses.
infuses.
You can't get any out of the bottle.
That's just, I just went by the book on this one, and like, it happens. You people are going to disagree with things I do and say. At the end of the day, it happens, But like, I messaged her about it after the fact, and I explained like my side of things, and like, we're good. Like, there's no issue. I just, she was in a bad mood, and I was just like, listen, I get it, but it's just how it works. So yeah, but after that, like, I talked about it with her, and, it's all good. Yeah, and now that you know that Kaseran could do that, you could be like, oh, next time I do have some. And then I'll also have time to maybe homebrew a little bit of a thing, so that she could use holy water with her water bending shit without being massively overpowered to anything that's a fiend, Yeah. So, yeah, we'll see. Like you making those grenades, Soko, that's all completely off the cuff homebrew. Like the time I decided you needed to make it, and the fact that you had to spend several checks making several parts before being able to put them together, all of that was the only thing that I took from a source is the damage it does, because there's a homebrew fragmentation grenade on D&D Beyond, and I was like, oh yeah, that seems balanced, that seems fair for the time he spent making them, sure. You still have one left, don't you? I'm pretty sure you used 2 and you made 3, so.
Holy water grenades.
Yo, that's lit.
Monka.
That's lit.
What we need is the holy hand grenade.
Naronk is gonna just turn into a fucking blood hunter, where he's just gonna make all kinds of cool little bombs and weapons that are specific to. Naronk is gonna fucking multiclass and blood hunter, boys. It's confirmed.
Start of the morning, we're gonna get up. Naronk's gonna be there making grenades. I'm gonna be there making holy water. Tremaris is gonna be there in the corner making health potion.
Yeah, incoming multiclass after 5th level, lit. I mean, it's cool though, because you have a gun, right? So the fact that you can... Blood hunters are like these people that are made to hunt monsters and creatures. So if you were to like... Because you know how to use guns and you are a tinkerer, you could combine that really well RP-wise with like, okay, we're chasing this type of creature. I'm gonna try and design something that is effective against that type of creature. It works from a roleplay perspective. And blood hunters are just fucking tough.
They're a bit of personal preference coming in there, Dutch.
A little bit. I mean, they're fucking witchers, man. That's literally what they are. They are witchers. So like, witchers are fucking cool.
For those that don't know, Dutch basically accidentally built Geralt for Saturday's campaign.
Yup. And I have no regrets. I love it. Yeah. Like complete with the 2 swords as well. Like I have 1 silver sword and 1 normal sword.
There's a stuffed unicorn in your tavern room.
Yeah, there's a big unicorn in my bedroom wherever I go. I take it with me to potentially just have sex on with anyone who wants. Yeah, great. No,
hopefully no one.
Wow, it's toxic, bro. Yeah.
I don't want to have to DM that. Because I know you, and I know how awkward you'd make it.
Let's see. How long have you been? Okay, we're gonna slowly start wrapping up here. Anyone have any more questions or things they want to discuss before I go to the final few little announcements? Then
Bella mentioned that there are little friendships forming in the party.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. It's
true though, because off the top of my head, you know, Nicole and Naronk seem to have a little bit of that, you know, like a little bit of a bond. You have Gisaren and Noctanus, who seem to be getting a little closer to each other.
Excuse me.
Those are the two that I can think of off the top of my head. They're like, yeah, they seem to like kind of, yeah.
I think right up until the incident, I would have said that Bran and Nicole were getting very close. I think that's why Bran was really annoyed about it. It's such a trivial thing, but Bran's really now like second guessing his opinion on this Dragonborn.
Yikes, bro! Yikes, dude!
Like, stealing's one thing, but stealing from someone you're like, you know, sleeping in a barn with is. And Nicole, I think Bran, in his moment of frustration, pouring the alcohol out as a bit of a fuck you. I think that upset Nicole.
Oh yeah, it did. What do y'all think about the relationship between certain characters developing? Not people as a part of individual friendship. I think it's cool. I think it's cool that Noctanus and Gisaren seem to have a little bit of an understanding, having, you know, things that things happen to them in their pasts to have a certain mindset, and those two mindsets kind of go hand in hand with each other. I think it's cool. The fact that Nicole and Naronk are a little, you know, are not afraid of a little mischief, a little, you know, I think is pretty cool as well. There's definitely some, yeah, I'm you know.
There was definitely some shifts in the last couple of episodes.
Yes, definitely.
I feel like Bran's very much gone away from Nicole, and sort of all of a sudden is now on much better terms with Gisaren. Because I feel like Gisaren was quite appreciative of that, and I think she mentioned something along the lines of, which Bran had never really like spoken to Gisaren before. There was the whole throwing stones at the tent when Bran was slightly antagonized by Noctanus. It's interesting. I feel like most of the party sort of know how they feel about each other. And Bran's sort of still really unsure with everyone. I think Gwen's probably in the same boat as the two newest characters. We're sort of unsure about everyone. I think Bran's now very wary all of a sudden, because the one person in the party that he probably held the highest view of has all of a sudden gone around and turned that back, and now he's a bit sort of ooh, I don't want to I don't want to necessarily trust these people yet.
It's Gwen looks towards, like, you know, Gisaren as the one who spoke up for her and was like, hey, I can trust her. She fought alongside us. She doesn't seem to be, she wants the same thing done. She wants to kill this dude. I am sure, why not? Let's bring her along. Whereas then she looks like Nicole is bumbling around, and it's just like, why are you here again? I get that you can hit things really hard, but why are you here?
Yeah. Fair.
It's not like she thinks of him any less. It's just that she doesn't quite get it.
I think that's the thing. Everyone's still fairly fresh, and their actual proper motivations have yet to come to light. And we've started seeing it a bit with Noctanus and Gisaren. But Tremaris, Naronk, Nicole, and Abberan are all still very much cards to the chest.
There's just a lot of things that we're still, like, even though we are like 15 episodes in, which can, seems like a long time already. Like, we've doing it, if we put it that way, we've been doing it for, I think, like 19 weeks, if you count like the break weeks in between. Like, that's a long time, right? That's long. But
look at...
in game time, the party hasn't even known each other for, like, I think it's still less than a month at this point.
Yeah.
So there's so much more, like, character development yet to come, and people finding out the true colors of people. Like, in game, the party has not been, like, has not known each other for over a month. And that's something that we also have to, like, keep in mind, is that probably around 1 month-ish. Yeah, like, but definitely not much more than that, though. So it's that's something to also keep in mind, that okay, even though that out of character we've been doing this for pretty much 20 weeks, in character the party hasn't known each other for over a month. So
if I can point out real quick something Bell said, and that was like, and Octanus does not trust Gwen right now, like, at all. And Gwen doesn't, she just, character-wise, she's not aware of that. She's aware of it, but at the same time, and it isn't like, well, I see you don't trust me, so I'm going to give you a reason to trust me. No, she's, if you notice during the fight, I turned towards the one that was attacking her to take that one out. It's like, you're in trouble, let me help. Okay, that she is not focused on just herself. She is willing to help, but she saw, she gets that she's not being trusted, and it's like, I'm still gonna do my thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's
you're not gonna stop me.
All right, so with that said, unless there's something more y'all want to say before we end it here, I've been working a lot on the wiki last night. I'm going to be working more tonight. The wiki is under full construction, and I'm gonna try and make sure that it's finished or like up to date by the next episode of Dungeon Select. So check that out.
I'll do some more map work for it.
Oh fuck yeah, dude! I've been working on the wiki a lot. That's going to be fun. Just if you guys, this is kind of what I did with Bell and Tremaris, Bell and Hanzo last week was, do you feel I should have done something differently, or did you disagree, like heavily disagree with something I decided on, or the way I did things last episode? Because I'm also here to learn, so if there's any like criticism that you have, I'd be glad to hear.
No, not really. I mean, for what I was here of last episode.
I would say from my experience, of course, I'm only going off of 2 sessions in a row, and it's like, for me, I don't see anything wrong or could have been done better or different, or I had, no pun intended, a blast. It's any chance I can get to, like, I've been wanting to make and create D&D characters for like years, and have like all these ideas in my head and characters I want. I literally wanted to sit down and just like make character sheets for everything that I had, and to get a chance to do it, I'm loving it.
I'm glad. All right, so with that said, guys, this has been Dungeon Discourse episode number 2. We'll be on YouTube this Friday. Thank you, Gypsy. Thank you, Ecto, for joining me.
Anytime.
It was fun to have a little bit of a closer look into the episode, but also your characters and your personal D&D experience so far, and your opinions on the campaign so far, and the things you've seen and done and all that. Chat, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you Sunday for, as James put it, the annihilation of Iandek. See you later, guys. Peace out.